I've been able to pass the FTMO 100K account challenge 3 times within the last year. I've attempted this challenge 4 times. If you think I'm lying, here's your proof. In this video, I'll explain exactly how I've been able to pass this challenge multiple times, and I'll also explain the reason why I failed the one that I did. I challenge you to listen to this video in its entirety because I'm sure you'll find some value from it in one way or another. In this video, I'm going to prove to you that what I did wasn't luck, but rather the result of a system and process that I created. Hopefully, you can take something from my situation and apply it to your own. With all that being said, let's go ahead and jump straight into how I was able to do it. So now I'm currently funded over $500,000 in capital. 300 of so is with FTMO. The first thing is understanding that FTMO is a different prop firm from that of Top Step. They have different rules, they have different requirements. One of the biggest things and one of the simple things that I've had to understand is that the leverage is different from FTMO than that of futures. They are two completely different data sources. So the first thing that I did was get acclimated with the leverage. FTMO has a demo account that you can practice on. You can figure out the leverage, and then you go from there. But I would not start a real FTMO challenge, a challenge that you've paid over $500 for, without figuring out how the leverage works, how to set your stop loss, how to set your take profit, and how to manage your position. So you need to start there. And this is not financial advice. This is what I did in my personal situation. If you were to trade with a futures prop firm, you'd be trading the S&P 500, the NASDAQ, or the US 30 using micros or minis. With FTMO, they use lots. So it's a completely different form of leverage. So you have to understand that before getting started. Next, I preach this in almost all of my videos. You need a strategy that you can depend on. You need a strategy that you trust through thick and thin, even when you're taking 1, 2, 3, 4 losses in a row. You need a strategy that you've back tested and that you've seen play out time and time again. Once you get that, sticking to a system becomes so much easier, and you'll stop jumping from strategy to strategy. So you need a good strategy, and that'll help you to pass these exams. The next thing is understanding risk. On the 100K FTMO challenge, you have a daily 5K drawdown limit, meaning you can't lose more than 5K in a day. No matter how much the account has grown, cannot draw down more than 5K in a day. So you want to be managing your risk accordingly. If you take 3 trades in a day, you ideally don't want to be risking more than 1,500 a trade. If you know that you're not taking more than 2 trades in a day, you don't want to be risking more than 2% a trade, which is $2,000. And for frame of reference, I'm speaking in regards to the 100K account, which I think is probably the best account to go for, given that FTMO is running a discount. And I'm not affiliated with FTMO. I'm not none of that. The reason why I like FTMO is because they have a proven track record. They have paid out hundreds of millions of dollars, and they've personally paid me out. So I trust them. Even though I will say the first payout was delayed because of something on my end, and I was concerned, but it was an error made on my end. FTMO is a legitimate company. They will pay out, giving you follow their rules, and you have to stick to their rules if you want to make a payout. So understand the daily drawdown, and next you have to understand the max drawdown. The difference between FTMO and Top Step, which I love, is FTMO. If you go for the standard 2-step challenge, you will get a static 10K of drawdown. It doesn't trail you when you make profit. So you have grace. You have grace. I love this because this gives me the most comparable scenario to a live account. With Top Step, you have that trailing drawdown, that trailing end of day drawdown until you get out of that buffer, which that's not how a live account will work. With FTMO, you can scale that account, and as long as you don't hit that 5K daily drawdown, you can create an infinite amount of drawdown if you want to by growing your account. So that is the blessed part of going with a company like FTMO. The next thing I would have to say is I would not treat the challenge account as if it's a live account. I would be trying to push out of the challenge account as quickly as possible, given that you have the foundation of actually knowing your skill set. So if you have a system that is proven, I would be trying to get out of the challenge as quickly as possible because the challenge is not real money. Another thing that you want to note is it's better to day trade on these firms. These firms aren't meant for swing trading. So if you're a swing trader, this might not be the route for you. I would be sticking strictly to day trading, and that way you can adhere to the rules of the firm. For FTMO and their current rules, you would lose your account if you hold trades over the weekend. So the best rule of thumb is to stick to day trading. Now let's get into the next thing. I don't normally get into technicals, but let's talk about it. The best traders I know have a top-down approach. You will not get the bigger picture until you start looking at the higher time frames and move down from there. The sweet spot is the daily time frame. You can look at the weekly, you can look at the monthly, and you can gauge a direction from there. But those intraday moves are pretty much contingent upon the daily setup. Go from the daily to the 4 hourly, and then from the 4 hour to the 1 hour, and from the 1 hour to the 15 minute, and then you take your setups on 5 minute time frame and below. That is the sauce. That is the sauce. Start from the daily and work your way down. If you can figure out where the daily profile is going, 80% of the job is done. The next most important time frame, in my opinion, is that 4 hour time frame. Now, I'm a day trader and I'm not a scalper, but for the majority of people, if you have that top-down approach, you can't really go wrong with that. All right, so the next thing I want to touch on is having an income outside of trading. Having an income outside of trading will help you with your psychology greatly. I don't care if you have to work a job. I don't care if you have to Uber Eats or DoorDash. I don't care what it is. Have an income outside of trading. Have a dependable income that you collect checks from every week or two. And that will help out greatly as far as your trading psychology and you needing to make money. The markets is not a place where you will make money every day. It's not. Is it realistic to make money on a weekly basis? When you get good, maybe. Is it realistic to make money on a monthly basis? I say absolutely. And of course that depends on market conditions, but you're not gonna make money every day. So if you're trading trying to pay bills, that is a horrible position to be in, and that is a good way not to pass these challenges. So have a dependable income already established as you're going on your trading journey, and then from there, once you make enough money, then it may make sense to transition to day trading full time. But if you haven't passed the challenge, if you haven't passed the challenge, it is foolish to be trying to depend on this to make money. So all in all, let's go over everything we need. 1, we need a strategy that we can depend on. 2, we need to understand the leverage. 3, we need to understand the firm's rule. 4, we need a dependable income outside of trading. And let's go over the last thing. We need to have discipline. We need to correct our psychology. We need discipline, right? Going on tilt, we don't have time to go on tilt. We don't have time to be trying to double down and draw down. We need to be lowering our risk and drawdown. We need to do opposite of what the majority is doing. We need to take our time if we need to get through these challenges. We need to be taking as little trades as possible, but the best trades possible. If you understand this simple ideology, you will win. And that's not a promise, but that is what I believe. You will win. Lastly, let's go over the mistake that I made when I failed the challenge that I did. I broke that one simple rule. I didn't have discipline. I went on tilt, and I doubled down and draw down. A smart person learns from a mistake and corrects the mistake. A fool continues to make the same mistake and expect a different outcome. I chose not to be a fool. simply put. So now understand this, if you take your time, that is the quickest way to achieve the results you want. You will go as fast as you ever can if you take it slow. I know it doesn't make sense, but once you pass your first challenge, you'll understand what I'm saying. If you like for me to mentor you, I'm dropping a link down in the description. From there, you can join me on your trading journey, and I'll show you my exact strategy for how I was able to accumulate over 500,000 in trading capital, and how I've been able to make 5 payouts since January 1st, and we're in the first week of February now. This is Having Academy, where you'll learn how to have and not to have not. Blessings you all. Take it easy.